Okay, so I'm going to start recording this. Okay, just settling down, closing your eyes for a moment, just to prepare ourselves for the talk, to be in the right frame of mind for it. Om. Om. Sahana bhavatu sahano bhunaktu saviryam karavavahe tejasvinavaditamastu ma vitvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. Okay, so welcome everyone to today's talk. So it's very nice to see you all. And so today I'm going to talk, I've changed the title of the talk. So I've got you here under false pretense. So we were going to talk about 4 different types of yoga. So, but we're actually going to talk more about one. So and the title that I've got is Yogifying Our Lives with Karma Yoga. So, and later on, it will become a bit clearer why I've changed the title. But so just to say the aims and the objectives of today's talk. So want to get across an understanding of the role of karma yoga in our lives. So I'll explain what that is. And in terms of the objectives, we're going to be revisiting the stages of life and according to this philosophy. And we're going to be revisiting the goals of self-knowledge, which is really why we're doing all what we're doing. And then I'll try and explain the essence of karma yoga. I mean, there are many ways of explaining karma yoga, but I'm kind of sticking to one for today. And then we might be able to kind of talk a bit more as we build on. And then finally, we'll talk a bit about the modern version, which talks about the 4 paths of yoga. And so just so you know, I mean, I think, so the idea of these talks is to really start to build a bit of a base for this philosophy. And then as we go on, I mean, obviously I can't kind of cover everything under the topic or whatever. So it's just really introducing ideas, introductory ideas. And then as we go on over the months and hopefully years, we will build on what we already know. And so there might be some things that, you know, I haven't kind of really talked about yet. So feel free to ask questions at the end. And so I want to talk about the 4 stages of life. So this is according to this philosophy. So don't worry about being able to look at the PowerPoint. If you just want to listen, that's fine. And for those who are not very familiar with this, so every time I use a Sanskrit word, I put it in green. So it just means that if you don't know any Sanskrit or don't want to know, you don't need to know. So you can just completely ignore everything that's in green. And this is there only for people who have got a little bit of a knowledge and also want to find out. So there are 4 stages of life, so which kind of explain what people should be doing in various stages of life. So in the first stage of life, this is where somebody is a student. and they learn about Dharma. So what Dharma means is ethics about how to live one's life. So it is the path, it is the ethics, if you like, or anything like that. And so it is learning about the basics of life, the ethics of life, the purpose of life. And so in the traditional sense, students go to live with their teachers and then learn about all these. They also learn about other things as well. They also learn boring things like maths and and all those kind of things. But they also learn about living, and they also learn about themselves, which is what all this teaching is about. It is the only teaching that talk about us, and and that would probably cover from up to about 24 years of age, is what roughly is when somebody is still considered a student. Okay, so these are just terms, so don't worry about it. And then the second stage is the householder stage. So and it is where the aim is to settle down, have a family, and get a job. And so this is basically the what happens in this stage, where people are also making money to finance this family, to raise the family, and also to prepare for later, perhaps. So this is that stage. And so wife and husband here live as a married couple and perform rituals according to the culture. So the culture says that there are certain things that people do as part of their daily routine. So it's not, everything is kind of embedded in a lifestyle. So in a way, this is kind of a whole lifestyle, if you like. And so people live a contented life with rituals and with bringing up their children if they've got them, or themselves working and living a life of dharma still, so within the ethics. And the third stage is the retired stage, so where people have where the children have actually grown up, left home, or about to leave home, or in that kind of and here it says, so this is not me, by the way, and this is a mistake. It shouldn't be husband and wives, it should be husbands and wives. We're not talking about one husband and many wives here. Sorry about that typo. So so here it well, the couples remain married but live as friends. So that's up to you to interpret how you want to interpret this. So whether that means that people, well, sexual intercourse is not kind of a common feature in this in this stage of life, if you like. And it doesn't come from me, by the way. I'm just repeating what I've read and what I've been taught. And and people still perform their rituals as part of their daily lives. So everything pretty much is a ritual in what people do. So when people get up, and when people have a shower, is a ritual. When people sit down to eat, it's a ritual. Everything can be a ritual, and that's the kind of life that we're talking about. But then the slight difference between this and the householder stage is that people withdraw a little bit from worldly life. So worldly life meaning they're not having to earn a living yet already. They're not kind of doing worldly kind of activities. And there is a life of contentment and at this stage. So then each stage prepares people for the next stage. And finally, the final stage is the renunciation. So in a way, it's the best retirement plan ever, because you live the life of a renunciate. So you just live on alms or on very little. So that means you don't have to save so much for your retirement, and that keeps the pressure off as well. And in the living life. So that's, if you like, how this culture describes these four stages of life. So it doesn't mean that we will all go through these stages. It doesn't mean that if we don't follow this, there's something wrong. It's just kind of a framework, if you like, about how this is done. And in the final stage of renunciation, and this is where people kind of probably even leave home, and some do, some don't, and people are not performing karmas. Karmas here means action, and people don't have any duties to do, and their only purpose is to pursue the knowledge of the self. So that's all they're interested in, and that's all they're going to be doing in this stage. And so it's good to understand the context of this society, and the context of this philosophy is that it is a duty-based society. So everyone has their own duty, everyone has things to do, and that's what they do. And I think it might be good to just compare this duty-based society with a rights-based society. With a rights-based society where we feel entitled to certain things, where we rely on other people to do certain things for us, and where we may perhaps we can sometimes forget our duty, and so it's kind of very, very different. So for instance, in a duty-based society, we will not have people suing each other, because in theory everybody should be doing their job, and everybody should be doing what they have to do according to their path in life. So this is just to kind of get a bit of a framework of what happens in life, and what the various stages. So you can probably place yourself in some ways, in some of them in a particular stage, but don't worry about the actual details. And then I just also wanted to talk about the benefit of self-knowledge. So self-knowledge here means knowledge of the self. So really knowledge of who we really are, and that kind of knowledge. So why do we have self-knowledge? Why are you here? I mean, there are several reasons why you're here, and I'm guessing it's got nothing to do with being in lockdown, but it's got some other purpose. And one of them might be that that we are naturally curious as human beings, and here curiosity it can be a very good thing. So we want to know, we want to understand what's going on, and a child asks a lot of questions, and all sorts of questions that we have got no idea how to answer. And then as we grow up, these questions change in nature of what we want to ask and what we want to know. And so yeah, curiosity can be a very good thing. And also, I think at the moment we can say that technological progress, the discovery of a vaccine, is thanks to curiosity of scientists who've wanted to find out about what this virus is about and how to deal with this virus, what's the antidote for it. But others, so I'm guessing that would include all of us here, are curious about more existential questions. So who am I? Why am I here? I mean, here as in this world. Why am I born to was I born to this mother? Or why am I born in this country, for instance, or all these kind of things, and what am I supposed to do in life? Where am I going? So all these things are things that we are curious about. And it's good to know. I mean, they're questions that we want to know, and they can be very helpful. And self-knowledge, what it does as well is it makes us, helps us to feel happy. So people fear that, it's like, I don't want to know all these things. It kind of seems a little bit, I don't know, just for some people, this kind of doesn't resonate with them at all, and which is fine, but it can be something very joyful, and it can help to give a very fresh perspective to life. So and I think one way to summarize this change of perspective, and we're going to see this with karma yoga again, is that it kind of shifts our perspective a little bit from happiness being a set of circumstances. So is happiness a set of circumstances? So that's most of us where we are in our belief of what happiness is. So basically, happiness is when we're able to go out and eat, when we're going to see our friends, when we are able to do all the things that we're not able to do now. That would be happiness. So which means that happiness for us is dependent on a set of circumstances. But what this teaching does is it kind of changes this a little bit to say that actually doesn't matter what's happening outside around us, but happiness is a state of being. So happiness is really within you, and you are totally in charge of that happiness. So that's what this means. So gaining the knowledge is not something scary, but it's something that can really change life in many ways. And the third point is there's freedom from dependence on external objects. So this is a bit related to what I've said. One inspirational speaker once said something which was quite, which I remembered, which says, and he said, so it is self-knowledge prevents us from giving away the remote control of our happiness to other people. So we keep the remote control ourselves rather than letting other circumstances or other people have that remote control to our happiness. So we take control in a way of our own happiness and what we ought to be doing. And so I think it is quite clear that happiness is not really in the objects, in the external objects. So happiness is really our intrinsic nature. So we talked about this earlier on, but we'll keep coming to this subject. And the reason why we're all attracted to happiness is because it is our instinctive or an intrinsic nature. I mean, nobody, I don't think anyone amongst us will say, oh, I love being sad. And, you know, it's great to be sad. Because it's not natural for us. If there is something that makes us sad, something that doesn't make us happy, we want to run away from it. We want to do something to prevent it, right? And the pharmaceutical industry is also capitalizing on that. So by kind of selling us all sorts of things as well trying to make us happy. But so really, I think there is this acceptance that happiness is pretty much within us. And then freedom from desperation, shock, and trauma. So what we mean by that is when we understand the nature of things, our expectation kind of changes as well. So we learn in this philosophy what is permanent and what is non-permanent. So and things that are not permanent are things that will change over time. So things will rot, things will decay. So just had my favorite pair of trousers that just tore. So, you know, just all sorts of things will happen. So it's just the nature of things in life. Everything just changes. And so, and the more we understand that, the better it is. And not understanding that can cause severe problem. You know, when people kind of say, oh, I want Britain to be how it was in the 1970s, or when, you know, when it was before. And that's a wrong expectation. It can never be, because things change, everything changes. And the person who's saying that has changed, their body has changed all over. So really is just to understand this thing about what changes and what doesn't change. So, and also one thing about sadness, it is also important to understand that sadness is totally natural. I mean, if we can't feel sadness, then we probably would think that something is wrong. But the difference is, if you understand the nature of things, you will also understand that sadness is not here to stay. Sadness will pass. So everything will pass eventually. So therefore, it is really understanding that feelings are temporary, things that are going through our mind are temporary. And once we understand these things, it might have the ability to prevent us from getting into prolonged depression, because we will know that this will pass, and we will have that conviction in a slightly different way. It's not just positive thinking. It's not just saying, oh, you know, you can't think this or whatever, but it's different. It's just kind of changing perspective of certain things. And also there is more of an acceptance. There's an acceptance of old age. There's an acceptance of getting grey. There's an acceptance of disease. There's an acceptance of a lot more things that's going on. And at the same time, it helps us to not judge what's going on, which is also very helpful. And finally, what self-knowledge does is it makes us more efficient. So what we mean by efficient here is it makes makes our goals very clear in life. So we gain that clarity and we are able to kind of see where we're going. We are able to understand what is real, what's not real. We're able to then, by this sheer understanding, we're able to focus on the things that really matter and let go of things that don't matter, right? And one example that stuck with me was this woman in Waitrose once, and she was completely upset, and she was almost in a fit because there was no quail eggs. And that was going to ruin her party, and there were people coming, and that's what she's famous for, and that everybody loves that, you know, in her party. And so it was, and she was shouting at the manager, and she was like, you know, so okay, I'm not saying that's not right, or I'm not judging, but what I'm trying to say is you know, there are loads of things in life that don't go our way, but it is kind of just trying to make us think about what is really important and or what isn't. And you know, in the big scheme of things, at that time, maybe, you know, I had to respect the fact that this was important to her, but you know, it wasn't. There was no need to kind of be so sad about it. It's absolutely fine. So the reason I wanted to talk about this again is just to say, well, we were talking about karma yoga and about the paths of yoga and all that kind of thing, but then path to what? So it is it is path to this self-knowledge, and these are the benefits of the self-knowledge, and that's what we want to achieve, basically. So I don't know if any, there might be other advantages as well, but I think these are compelling reasons for most of us to kind of want to know a little bit more about it. Okay, so now going to knowledge of the self. So just to go over these again. So it provides answers to the following questions. So who am I? How did this world come about? So, you know, not just the chicken and egg problem, and, you know, what came first, and, you know, all these things, and what is the origin of beings? So are we descendants of monkeys, or where are we? Have we evolved from an amoeba, or, you know, all these things that we want to know. And is there a God? The concept of God. So, as you would remember from previous from previous classes, we've talked about this idea of God, and we've been using the term Ishvara to refer to God, which is, and also we kind of mean God to be the creator. And so through reflection and contemplation of the truth, one begins to question what is eternal and what is not eternal. And also what self-knowledge tells us is that consciousness is my real self. So I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm not these senses. And what I am is this pure self. So hence the name self. And that self is consciousness, which is all pervading and which is formless. And that's what consciousness is about. And also we develop a sense of oneness. So we all are this consciousness. So no matter what we look like or anything, so there is really that concept of oneness with all of us, because there is that constant consciousness in all of us, which is present all the time and is exactly the same, even though our bodies are slightly different. And also the other bit that we've discussed before is that I am this divinity. So this consciousness, the same consciousness that I'm part of the creator, that's what I am. And there is, so I am therefore divine. And a lot of time people have difficulty accepting this, saying, oh, does that include me as well? So does that mean everyone? And yes, of course, it includes absolutely everyone. So everyone is divine, whether you like them or not, and even, you know, the person who's caused you most harm is divine, and that's a fact. And our nature, as I mentioned earlier, is happiness, and we used the term before, Satchit Anand, which is existence, knowledge, and existence, bliss, and absolute. So. And also by knowing this, by understanding this knowledge of the self, it helps us to revel in that oneness. And as we develop on our path in this, we really start to experience the oneness at different levels. And then all these differences, all these things start going away, all these differences between us, all these petty things that we see in the news, you know, will hopefully go away one day. So that's the idea, is to stay in that oneness that defines all of us. And now, so how do we get this knowledge? And so it's listening to spiritual discourses, and not just once, but it is constant reminder and constant listening to these things. And you know, sometimes you kind of listen and then you go back and then you're like, what was that about? So these concepts are quite new for most of us, and therefore it takes a little while to understand these concepts and what's going on. So therefore we need to be listening to these spiritual discourses, and not just by me, but by others as well. Who so if you are interested, I can definitely recommend other people that you can listen to, but just beware that there is a lot of garbage on the internet as well. So there's a lot of people you don't want to be listening to either. So if you're not sure, please ask. And also, what about this knowledge, we kind of ask that you don't just accept whatever we're saying, whatever I'm teaching, but then to actually understand it from your point of view and to question. So this is the difference, where we don't invite belief or anything like that, but we say, does this make sense to you? What is your experience of this? What is your understanding of this? And it is for you to interpret it in the way that works for you. So there is very much that idea about questioning and to make sure that you understand. So basically, the more, well, we all have doubts along the path at some point, and a lot of time it is a matter of getting these doubts clarified. And the more you have these doubts clarified, so the more convinced you are, and the easier it gets to kind of advance in this path. And then finally, in terms of contemplation, so it is, I've used this example before, but it is not just good to know, for me to tell you, or for other people to tell you, that you are this divine and this divine being, and there's divinity everywhere, and everything is the manifestation of the Creator, and hence the divine nature of everything. So it is actually to experience it. So it's an experiential thing. So it's not something that we can prove in a lab, but it is something that people have experienced before, people who have not had any motives to say otherwise, or what they've said. So we go by what their experiences are. And then the idea is for us to actually realize this ourselves experientially. So not just intellectually trying to understand what we're saying, and it makes sense on paper pretty much, but then it is actually understanding these. And actually, sometimes when we are really happy and we kind of say, oh, we were blissful, or when we wake up from deep sleep and we're like, oh, it was great, I don't remember a thing, but it was great. So these are glimpses of that kind of happiness that we can't experience at will, basically. So these are this is something to be experienced. And obviously, we need constant reminder of this thing about we are divine, we are this consciousness, and there's this idea of oneness. And the reason why we need constant reminder is because we're not conditioned that way. It needs a long time for us to understand, and by a long time I mean probably several births, several thousands of births. But it happens, and we need to kind of keep at it. So I'm not going to go through this list, but I will, when I circulate this slide, you can have it. So this is to say that on this path on to be able to kind of experience this, to be able to experience this knowledge, not necessarily at the ultimate stage, but then as we go on in daily life, even the intellectual understanding of these things, to understand these, we need to develop these qualities. It doesn't mean that we have to get all of them sorted before we start to do anything, but as we go on, these are the things that we want to be working on. So they are fairly accepted qualities. So we're talking about humility, unpretentiousness, so probably the same, harmlessness, forgiveness, uprightness, so service to preceptor, purity, steadfastness. So again, that's this idea of having a great deal of patience, perseverance, self-control, discipline, this passion towards sense objects, and all that kind of stuff that we need to be able to actually get to the ultimate bit of this path. And so the next bit that I wanted to talk about is the role of desires in our life. So the word we're going to be talking about karma yoga. So karma has got two meanings, unhelpfully. So it means actions, but it also means the results. Okay, so and one thing that we want to understand is we have lots of likes and dislikes, and lots of desires, and a lot of things that we feel strongly about or not. And where do these come from? So we all have our likes and dislikes, right? So earlier on, I mentioned my favorite pair of trousers. So obviously there are some that I like and some that I don't like. And so the desires come from impressions from previous lives. So this is where they come from. And sometimes you can see this in little children, in babies, where you can already see they've got their personality, some things that has already been formed like really, really early, some things that they really like, something they don't like, and some of it does come from previous lives. And also a lot of desires come from senses. So from senses, from taste, from sight, from hearing. So, and all these advertising companies know how to do this. They know how to capitalize on our senses to get us to buy all sorts of things and to consume all sorts of things. So the thing about like and dislike is they cause us to act and react. So if there's no likes and no dislikes, life goes on, there is no need. And everything that we do is because there is a desire to do so. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying likes or because you want to be listening to this. So therefore you made yourself available here today. So everything that we do, bad or good, is because there is an idea, there is a liking, there is a preference. And, we want to go to a rock concert, and that's because we've got a liking for that kind of music. Therefore we'll buy a ticket and we'll go. So basically everything that we do comes, if you like, is rooted in these likes and these dislikes that we have. And also the likes and the dislike make us react in a certain kind of way. And so when it's something, when we're happy, when we think we like something, or when we get something that we want, and then we are very unhappy when we don't. Okay, so again, this has a massive effect. These lives and these likes and dislikes on us. And sometimes you think, well, actually, we're kind of complaining about the weather, in February and saying, oh, it's cold. But then that's the nature of what it would be in this country. So it's all right complaining, but then what were we expecting? I mean, you might not like it, but this is what it is. So the solution is to keep warm. There are other solutions, but it is just to say that, these likes and dislikes make us react in a certain kind of way. And the example of the woman I gave you earlier on with the quail eggs is, that was a strong like that kind of made her react in a way that was, in my view, slightly disproportionate. So yeah, so it's just something that we need to bear in mind. So when we have no desires, there is no need to act. And so it is something to think about our desires, and how we feed our desires, and which one of them are not very helpful for us in the path that we want, or in the goal of life that we want to achieve. So and also earlier on, I talked about clarity that self-knowledge gives us. So basically, what we normally say is that your desires, if anything is not going to help you in your spiritual growth, then let it go. I mean, not everything, of course, it's not saying sacrifice everything that you like. It's not like that at all. But it's just as a guidance in life, is that let go of desires that do not help in towards your spiritual growth. And that provides quite a big clarity about what one has to do and what one doesn't have to do in life as well. Okay, so now we go on to talk about karma yoga. And so I just wanted to say there are a few misconceptions about this, and I wanted to kind of get them out there. And one is saying not to be confused with karma theory. So we've talked about karma before, talking about cause and effect. So this is not necessarily what we're talking here. And also in the Western world nowadays, there is this new this concept of karma yogi. So one who practices karma yoga is karma yogi for free labor. And so where people say, come and clean our yoga studio and we'll give you free yoga classes. So this is not really karma yoga. I mean, because it's not a selfless action, it's an exchange. It's just that they're using different currency to pay. And it could be that they're doing it with the right karma yoga attitude, but generally this is not what it means. And also the point that I want to say is that to be practicing karma yoga, you don't need to be in different places to do it. It's something that can be done here. And also sometimes some people say that for karma yoga we have to do things without expectation, and in a way it's not strictly true, because if we don't expect something we won't do anything, right? So we always do something because we expect something, right? You've come here because you're expecting a talk, but so we don't do anything without expecting something, because there needs to be a goal, and so it's wrong to say that we don't expect things, because we do. And so these are some of the misconceptions that I thought I'll just clarify. And then now going on to what karma yoga means. So karma, as I said, means action, and this is called the yoga of action. And what it aims to do is it aims to keep in check, or our likes and dislikes, and then it makes the mind a little bit purer and then a little bit more focused and making way to happiness. And I'll explain how. And so in a way, very simply, what karma yoga says is, it says I have to do good for myself and the society. So it really simply, that's what it means. So now we're going to go into the detail of how this is done. So the first is looking at karma yoga as a noble action versus non-noble action. So we're using very specific definitions here. I mean, I'm not going to get bogged down by translation and all that kind of stuff. So basically all it means is that the benefits of what I do is not just for me, but it's a bit wider. So I'm thinking that the benefits are greater than what they would be just for me. And also we talked earlier on about a duty-based society. So it's just do it because it has to be done. So we want to help follow, do it because it has to be done. And again, that's based on that duty-based society. So where you just have to do, we're all here, we all have a special purpose, and we all have to do what we have to do. And we want to help fellow beings, no profits, no ulterior motives. And there might be some, and that's okay too, but generally this is what it means. And also for when we're talking about good selfless action, what we mean is we want to change the I want to we want. Okay, so it's about us all and not just about me, me, me. So that's what it says. And also you will notice that in our yoga class at the end, in our asana class, we normally chant Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, which means may the whole world be peaceful, happy, etc. So we're not thinking just about us, but we're thinking about others as well when we're doing things. And so I've talked about this, about we have a special purpose. So we're here because we have to be here. Everybody is here for a reason. We might not know this reason, and we're all very special with a very special purpose. And that doesn't mean fame. That doesn't mean, you know, things that whatever it is special. And so it is absolutely fine. And also one thing to understand here is again, or just not to be confused, in when we're saying that a noble action is about everybody, is about helping everyone else, etc. But there is a big recognition in the philosophy to say that to be able to take care of someone else, our duty is to take care of oneself. So our own body and our own mind, which is why we're here. We want to take charge of our mind, and this is our first duty to ourselves. And if we don't do that and we just want to help others without helping ourselves, then this is adding to the whole problem of society. So this is just something to understand, that by saying that we have to contribute to society, we have to do something more, it doesn't mean that we neglect ourselves, but we have to put ourselves first in these things. And the second bit of looking at karma yoga is noble attitude. So essentially, karma yoga is not done just somewhere, but it can be done everywhere, and it is mainly an attitude as well. So what it means is we invite divinity in all aspects of our lives. So we recognize this divinity in all aspects of our life, not just when things go well or when things go wrong, or just when we are kind of sat down to meditate, sat down to do our prayers, or sat down to listen to us. But everything that we do can be, you know, within that context of a divine kind of context. So seeing the divine in everything, and also going for this thing about everything I do is a ritual. So everything I do is this offering, everything I do is something that I have to do, and I do it well, and I do it happily. And I thought I'll tell you this story about when I was doing my teacher training course. So we used to, in the mornings after the morning asana class, or after lunch, we used to help out in the ashram a little bit with various jobs. And I had to clean a little flat where some of the teachers were staying, and I was doing it with one other girl, and we were always kind of saying, okay, so this is karma yoga, this is where we do it because we expect that, you know, we were cleaning the toilet, and that's because God is going to come, you know, and use the toilet, you know, just symbolically, and just saying, you know, with that kind of attitude that you're doing it because it's what has to be done, and you're doing it lovingly, and you're doing it, you know. So whatever it is that you have to do is really trying to find to find a purpose in it, and to do it with that commitment. So whatever we do it well, and with a good intention, and with a good attitude, and give it our 100% and nothing less. And also there is this idea of this term which is used in the philosophy, which is equanimity, which means reacting similarly to our likes and dislikes. So is to be able to accept that the likes and the dislikes are also part of this world. Everything exists together. So therefore there'll be sometimes we like things, something we don't like, sometimes we don't like things, and this is the way it is. Nobody has a life where everything they have or they get or will get is everything that they like, but they have to put up with it. And the sooner we accept that, then the better it is. And the idea is kind of saying here is not to get overexcited or not to get too down about something, but just to kind of say, yeah, this is what it is, and you know, it's we'll just have to go with it. And I think one of the other practice of karma yoga really is to love what needs to be done and not do what one loves only. Okay, so we all have duties to do, we all have responsibilities, and we have to love what must be done. Because if we don't, there's so many things in our life that we just have to do because we have to do. And if we don't love it, then we are going to be suffering as a result of it. So really, that is a very, very good and a very tough practice, is to love what needs to be done, and not just to do what one likes to do, because that is not life. That is not sustainable, and that's not possible. Some of us can get away with it a bit more than others, but this is not really the reality for most of us. And also to realize that we control for everything that we can. So we do our best, we take all sorts of precautions, you know, but then that's the only thing that we can do. We can just do our best, but then what will happen, the results of whatever, of the action that we're going to do, it always has hidden variables that we can't control for. Okay, so you can think of an example yourself of something that you've done and you thought, oh, this is great, but then I didn't get the result that I wanted from it, and it didn't happen in my way. You know, I think we all had plans before lockdown happened of what we wanted to do, and we all planned everything, and then there we go, all borders were closed and everything. So this is not things that we can control for. And unfortunately, there are always hidden variables. There's always things that is happening, and we've got to accept that. And we've got to accept the results of our action, and also we need to be mindful of the expectations of what we have of things, because the expectations would be the cause of sorrow for us. And sometimes we kind of ask, well, actually, where do these hidden variables come from? Why did this happen to me? And the issue with hidden variables is that, I mean, I'm not going to go into detail of it, it is also a result of our own karma. So this is why there are hidden variables, but then we don't know it, we can't see it, but it is something that you know, is the universal order, if you like. And the antidote to ward off all these hidden variables is, within this context, is prayers, is to try and empower us to ward off and to be the antidote of all these hidden variables, and to be protected from them, and to be able to cope with them in a better way. It doesn't mean that it will change causes of action, but it could just be like a little bit of a shock absorber for us, if you like, and just make things a little bit less painful for us. And finally, the idea about the karma yogi. So these are all the attitudes that the karma yogi has, and the karma yogi dedicate all the actions to Ishvara, or God, and whatever their notion of God is. And it's saying, well, actually, all the things that are happening by the grace of God, and I'm just the instrument here. And you know, and I am able to do various things because of the presence of this consciousness, of the presence of the Creator, and that's kind of quite good in a way, because then it doesn't kind of inflate our ego too much, but also it kind of relieves some of the burden, because you know, we kind of feel a little bit protected and a little bit supported in our journey, and it helps us to live a guilt-free life. So these are the main attitudes of a karma yogi, if you like. So there is a lot in there, and we're going to talk a lot more about these in a practical sense next time. But so this is really the practice of karma yoga, and the practice of karma yoga is something that can be done anytime, anywhere. So it is off the mat for sure. And so what yoga looks like. So for a beginner, karma yogis, they perform good tasks that they either enjoy doing or for personal benefit. So this was the example that I had earlier on about this person who wants to clean a yoga studio so that they can attend classes. So this is absolutely fine. This is a beginner karma yogi kind of attitude, and that's fine. I'm only using these terms here just so you could see various degrees of it. And the intermediate ones will perform actions that are required to do to serve others, regardless of their own likes or dislikes. So whether you like it or not, you'll do it because that's what needs to be done. And also it has this effect of purifying our own minds, because those likes and dislike cause all sorts of thoughts in our mind. And by getting rid of this, our mind doesn't have too much activity relating to these particular desires. So you're just doing it, you're just concentrating on doing the work. So therefore, that's what happens there. And what the advanced karma yogis will do, they will serve and love others, because they see everyone as the manifestation of the divine. So that's why they will be serving everyone. And you might have some examples of great karma yogis that serve and love and really see everyone as the divine. I mean, there are loads of examples in all cultures. And I mean, I'll let you, the one that comes to mind is probably Mother Teresa, and who kind of had that kind of attitude, and there are loads of other people. And also, one thing to understand about karma yoga is that when a selfless ideal is being pursued, the body becomes energized to work. So it is not something that drains us. So unlike other things that is selfless, that is not selfless, that is selfish, the body does become energized when we are performing these. Energy gained is properly channeled because we know how to channel it. We've got this purpose, and therefore therefore that is how the energy that we get through karma yoga. And then sometimes we see people who are real karma yogis and are doing things, and then we say, how are they doing this? Where are they getting the energy? And that's it. The more you give, the more you get, basically, in this idea, with the right attitude. And that's the way it works. And so I just wanted to say how energy is drained. So we're talking about what energizes us, but then similarly, we need to be aware of how energy is drained. So energy is drained worrying about the past, right? So we can't do anything about it, and yet we worry about it. Okay, so and the second one is anxiety over the fruit of action. So fruit of action here means the result of what we're going to get. So well, we don't know. We don't know what these hidden variables are. We know what we have done, but we don't know the hidden variables. So therefore, if we kind of get too anxious about this, then we are draining our energy. We're channeling our energy in a pursuit that's very fruitless, and that doesn't serve anyone at all. And then finally, the excitement in the present action. So in the present action, so by being too emotionally involved with what we're doing, it can be a problem as well. So you're overzealous and just too much energy in doing something, or just too excited. And I mean, it's nice to be to have these emotions sometimes, but also it can be very draining, and it's just something to be aware of. And so I'm not going to dwell on this too much. So that is really what I wanted to talk to about karma yoga. And karma yoga, really, I mean, I've kind of really simplified it and kind of gone through it quickly, but we'll keep coming back to these. And actually, I think these are probably the most life transforming things that we could do in our own lives now. And everything that we do, every work that we do, is treated as a karma yoga with that proper attitude, and everything becomes a joy. Everything has the potential to be very joyous, very happy, and doesn't have to feel like a chore or oh yeah, I'm doing this because I need to pay my bills and you know what not. So just really a change in attitude can make a world of difference, because obviously we can't change a lot of the things around. So right, so now the 4 paths of yoga. So I'm not going to talk about this, but I just thought I'd mention this. So this is a modern classification of the 4 paths of yoga, and I did send you a link for fun to have a look at. I don't know if you've managed to, so it is kind of saying, you know, people sometimes kind of see these 4 paths as quite distinct, but so karma yoga we've discussed now. So bhakti yoga is is love and devotion, is devotion, prayer, and that kind of thing. And Raja yoga is, we're going to discuss next month what Raja yoga is, but Raja yoga is about asanas, pranayam, and then it's also around things like meditation, well, concentration, meditation, etc. And then jnana yoga is knowledge yoga, which is the knowledge, self-knowledge here. So basically, the reason I didn't want to talk about these as 4 different things is that you can't do karma yoga without the proper knowledge. So you need the proper knowledge first to be able to do karma yoga. And you need the knowledge to be able to understand what bhakti yoga is all about. So that really the knowledge is at the base of everything. And the knowledge is we don't know who we are. So therefore we need that knowledge to tell us who we are. And then from there develops other things that we can do. So, I mean, I will talk about it at some other point in time. But the last thing that I wanted to mention is about how to yogify our lives. So, so how to live the life of a karma yogi here and now is to reflect on fixing an ideal in life. Think about a realistic daily practice that connects us to the ideal based on something that suits our personality, something that reminds us of this, that we are this divine every day. So it could be some affirmation, it could be anything that you like to do that kind of remind you about this connection. And also to bear in mind that the pursuit of happiness is a commitment that requires patience, perseverance over many, 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 many years. But it doesn't mean that we don't have to do it. We have to do it now with as much enthusiasm as we can in the true karma yoga spirit. And the majority of yoga practice is off the mat. So it is not 6 p.m. on a Monday. So that's great if you can do it. But the more every single thing that you do, every single thing can be part of a yoga practice. And make every action count with the right karma yoga attitude. And once we've developed that attitude over time and with the right understanding, we can truly experience the joy of every action, and nothing ever feels like a chore. And so I want to end here, and we'll just end with a short prayer. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om. Thank you very much.